UW360 is proudly supported by BECU, a not-for-profit member-owned credit union. Pacific Office Automation, copy, print, workflow, and IT. Problem solved.
Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Douglas. Welcome to UW360 and welcome to Parrington Hall. This hall was named for Vernon Parrington, a popular English professor and a Pulitzer Prize-winning author in the early 20th century. Today, Parrington Hall houses the Evans School of Public Affairs, one of the leading schools of public policy and management in the country. It's also home to a love story, shared by two of its graduates who are really making a difference in our world. We'll introduce you to Provost Anamari Kause. We'll check out this year's Husky crew team, and we'll see historic film of a World War II air raid drill at Husky Stadium. But first, we're headed to the Arctic to explore the effects of global climate change. Scientists from the UW's Polar Science Center are working to discover the cause of dramatic changes in Arctic sea ice.
The annual cycle of Arctic sea ice melt and growth is marked each September, when the ice shrinks to its yearly minimum. And each September the question arises, will a new record minimum be set? Axel Schweiger and other polar scientists at the Applied Physics Laboratory of the University of Washington agree. Arctic sea ice volume is undeniably on a downward trend. There is less ice, and what ice there is increasingly vulnerable to dramatic losses in the future.
We've been interested in sea ice volume largely because we know that the sea ice has been shrinking. We also know that it's been thinning.
For decades, APL-UW polar scientists have studied the Arctic sea ice, gathering data from under the ice, on the ice, and over the ice.
Drop, drop, drop.
Basically, we deploy buoys on the Arctic sea ice. And these buoys measure all kinds of things from air pressure, air temperature, ice temperatures, ocean salinities and temperatures. We'll deploy them from ships going up into the Arctic or throw them out of airplanes. This animation shows where all our buoys are. These red dots are the buoys, the actual positions of the buoys. As I start this animation, you'll see that the buoys drift around the Arctic Ocean and the ice tends to drift out through the right here into the North Atlantic. One of the things we've learned is that temperatures are definitely important in driving the melt of Arctic sea ice, but what is also important and also part of global climate change and global warming is that the changes in wind change where the ice goes around the Arctic Ocean. So one thing we're seeing is that now that we're in this younger, thinner ice regime, this ice moves a lot quicker, it can be blown out of the Arctic a lot quicker, it doesn't have as much mass to survive a summer melt season.
From year to year, over the past 32 years, we've lost about 280 cubic kilometers of sea ice. How much energy does it take to melt that amount of ice? It happens to be just about as much as the U.S. consumes in energy in any one year.
Schweiger is focused on improved computer models of the Arctic climate, the key, he says, to predicting the future.
These predictions about the future help us assess what are the likely impacts on shipping, ecosystems, and other economic activities in the Arctic.
Probably the best known species or the icon of the Arctic is the polar bear. We immobilize bears and attach transmitters, and these transmitters allow us to track bears' movements over the ice year-round.
We find that the sea ice extent is decreasing in the region that the polar bears inhabit, and we're finding that the spring breakup of the ice is coming earlier and the fall freeze-up is coming later, so the polar bears have less time that they're able to spend on the ice hunting. Scientists are trying to understand the role of warming temperatures and changing circulation in how they contribute to the ice loss. But we know that it has an effect on polar bears, whatever the cause is.
Experts at APL-UW are dedicated to ongoing research to track, understand, and help predict the dramatic changes in Arctic sea ice and what they tell us about global climate change.
For more information about research at the UW's Applied Physics Laboratory or on any of the stories in this program, just go to our website at uwtv.org/UW360. And stay tuned, we'll be right back with Husky crew member and world-class athlete Rob Munn as UW360 continues. Welcome back to UW360. If you live or work near Lake Union, you've probably seen the Husky crew teams hard at work. Those guys and gals are out there day after day, rain or shine, month after month, upholding a long tradition of excellence. A tradition carried on by championship rowers like Rob Munn.
It's another rainy January day in Seattle. But that won't keep these guys inside. The University of Washington men's crew team is spending all winter preparing for what they hope will be another winning spring season.
It's harder than it looks, for sure.
College rowing, or crew, is arguably one of the most demanding college sports, and the Husky program is no exception.
Connect early and then draw it all the way through.
The guys are putting basically 4 hours a day into rowing almost every day of the week, for 6 days a week.
The workouts you can do with rowing, they can be painful, but there comes a point with everything, you have to just kind of put your head down and do it.
Senior Rob Munn is a Washington native who's already earned considerable success as an oarsman. He's helped win gold medals representing his college and his country. You can see it in his face. This guy is dedicated and serious about his sport.
He's physically very strong, he's very competitive, he's very intelligent, and he's a guy that other people follow. And he of course encourages people, I think, vocally, but more importantly, he always leads by example, and he's willing to take the first step in the direction we need to go.
Early peak here.
Those are exactly the kind of qualities Coach Callahan looks for in his rowers. These guys come from varying backgrounds, some from the other side of the globe, but Callahan believes strong individual rowers are developed through emphasis on the team.
There's a process of building unit cohesion here. Everyone starts at the same level. No matter if you're an Olympian or a walk-on, you're all the same, and we teach you the Washington way.
Everybody is looked to succeed on all levels, and you feel that in the practices, and everybody wants to strive for that, and there's always that want and that goal.
I think what I'd like to do is spend a little time on the ergometer very quickly, like 5 minutes maybe for the pair group first.
Expectations from the coach and each other push the team to work hard, but they also have to live up to an impressive UW rowing tradition over 100 years in the making. Since 1903, Husky crew has won numerous national championships, and Husky rowers have maintained a powerful reputation in the Olympic Games.
It's crazy, and you start thinking about it, and it's bigger than yourself. It really is. Like the fact that they went in 36, and we had some other boats going in 48, and one boat of Husky guys rowed against the Soviets.
The tradition is great, and it's also something that we draw upon. We draw a lot of our power and our excitement from that, and the guys know it's important, and they also know that history is history, but it's also important to add their own history to it, and that they can make their own mark on this program.
And let's keep the rebound speed out, Rob. That's good.
As a senior, Rob's 2012 spring season will be the culmination of 4 years of hard work.
When I first got here, my first thought was, could I even handle it? It was such a daunting idea that I could go and row for the Huskies and like have success because of how successful they are. But then, you kind of got to jump in feet first and say, I can do this.
Here we go, let's go down to your lane, single file, 26 strokes a minute.
There's been a lot of hard work here, and it becomes very nostalgic, and you start realizing this is it. This is the last time you're going to race in the Montlake Cut. It's maybe the last time you race for a conference championship, and it's the last time you're going to maybe be able to stand on the top of the podium for a national championship. And so it's tough to leave, and it's a very special time, but also you savor it every moment of it too.
Rob has several promising options after graduation, but Coach Callahan feels confident about one thing.
I see Rob doing whatever he wants to do. He's one of those people, I think, whatever he chooses to do, he'll do it well.
For a schedule of crew events or to read more about the history of award-winning UW crew, you'll find a link on our website, uwtv.org/UW360. Stay with us. Coming up next, we'll meet the UW's dynamic provost, Anamari Kause. Welcome back, everyone. From the time she was a little girl, Anamari Kause wanted to be a teacher. She joined the UW faculty 25 years ago, eventually becoming Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. In January 2012, she began a new phase of her career as Provost of the University of Washington.
But I think once you've seen Seattle at its most beautiful, you fall in love.
Anamari Kause joined the University of Washington as an assistant professor in psychology in 1986, and she's been rising steadily in the university ever since. People have come to know her as someone who's energetic, knowledgeable, and sincere. On January 2nd of 2012, she left her position as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences to take on her newest challenge as the university's provost.
You know, I think that part of what I bring to the position is that people know I'm a straight shooter, and that I tend to be, blunt. And that I tend to be out there. I'll talk to almost anybody. Hey, good morning.
There you go.
Thank you.
The provost has a somewhat broad job description, basically overseeing academic administration, including hiring faculty, budgeting, and student affairs.
The good part is that, I've been here a long time, so there's nothing about the position, there's nothing about the things I'm dealing with that are really unfamiliar. The volume is surprising, and just the sheer volume of stuff that comes at you.
There are adjustments to be made. Everything's just a little more formal in the provost's office.
So my compromise is I have on leather sneakers. These are new. I love to walk around places and and I'm not about to get I do have a pair of pumps in my office and I'll wear them if I need to. But I figured that cotton sneakers that they had to go. So I've got nice fancy sneakers.
As an undergrad at the University of Miami, Anamari went through 5 majors before discovering her love of psychology. Earning a master's and PhD in the subject at Yale University, much of her research involved issues pertaining to minorities and adolescents.
And I've got to say there's something very personal about the research that I do, and some of my interest in minority youth and identity, et cetera, has everything to do with my own experience growing up and figuring out, my Latino-ness and, my immigrant-ness and all of those kinds of things.
Her understanding of the issues of adolescence factored into one project she's truly proud of. In 2007, Anamari helped launch Husky Promise, a program which promises to pay tuition for any students from Washington accepted to the UW if they can't afford it.
I think a 4-year degree is incredibly important. First of all, everything that we read, all the projections are that 4-year degrees will be more and more needed for people who want to get the jobs of the future. But I also think that beyond the earning capacity of a 4-year degree, it's part of what enriches your life.
Education was always important in Anamari's family. In Cuba, where she was born, her father earned a PhD.
We left after the Cuban Revolution, and my dad was in his mid-50s, and he worked in a factory in this country. His 4-year degree meant absolutely nothing in terms of his earning potential. He worked in a factory and he made shoes. But what it did to the quality of life for his children, the fact that he'd been a college graduate meant that we were going to be college graduates.
Anamari became provost during a difficult economic time for the University of Washington. The state has cut funding to the university in half, and more cuts are likely. While acknowledging the times are tough, Anamari hopes to turn the UW's challenges into opportunities.
When you're going through hard times, you're better off trying to focus on the horizon. Where do you want to be 5 years from now, rather than just focusing on the bad things that are going on right now? I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to be a Pollyanna, but I think that to get us through, we also have to be looking at the positive things that are going on.
Being provost of a major university requires long hours and a lot of hard work. But Anamari hopes to find ways to stay connected to her first love, teaching.
Well, I've talked about it before. I was probably, about that high, and, I'd, line up my stuffed animals and I'd teach at them. My students have gotten a lot better since then, so have my teaching style.
It's been 150 years since the University of Washington opened its doors, and the UW Library's Special Collections has been sharing some historic moments caught on film. Take a look at this air raid drill at Husky Stadium, complete with burning buildings.
The siren is hands down the most beautiful sound any Husky fan will ever hear. The tradition goes all the way back to 1921. But June 13th, 1943 was the one day the siren was not a celebration. It was serious business. That was the day of the largest civil defense exercise this country has ever seen, and it happened right here at Husky Stadium. The U.S. was worried about being attacked by Japan during World War II, and an air raid exercise simulated a bombing blitz right on the 50-yard line. Buildings were destroyed, and volunteers faked injuries. In the 90 minutes it took to run the drill, they were lucky they didn't burn the whole place down. 35,000 people jammed the stands to watch. In time, these images were shown around the country to help cities prepare for the worst. When you think about it, this may have been the first national broadcast ever from Husky Stadium.
Our thanks again to the UW Library's Special Collections for sharing that historic footage with us. We'll be right back with a love story from the Evans School of Public Affairs as UW 360 continues. Welcome back to UW 360. Graduates of the Evans School of Public Affairs serve in leadership positions throughout the state, the nation, and the world. Alumni also fill crucial support roles in nonprofit and public agencies, while current students contribute thousands of hours in service learning. Rebecca and Grant Bloom chose the school to find careers in public service. What they also found was one another.
Yeah? Good. My mom always recommended I go back to college and suggested maybe I'd meet someone there when I went back to graduate school. And it pains me that she was right, that I did meet my husband there.
It is a public affairs love story, that's right.
Rebecca and Grant met as graduate students at the University of Washington's Evans School of Public Affairs. Their romance was fueled by a mutual passion for making a difference.
When you go back to a program like the Evans School, you are with people who come from a similar line of thinking, similarly frustrated with a current situation, trying to figure out what they can do about it. And although Grant was interested in education and I was interested in nonprofit management, at the root of our passion is a similar tenet, a similar value.
I wanted to work with people and I wanted to work with public programs, and I wasn't so interested in making profit.
Of course.
Nice. More interested in creating public value, which is what we say in the Evans School.
While falling in love, Rebecca and Grant earned MPAs, Masters in Public Administration. On graduation day, Rebecca landed a job as the Director of Development for the YWCA of Seattle, King County, and Snohomish County.
And I am particularly interested in human services and local human services.
Want to do constituents?
I continue to struggle with the question, why could there be folks in our community, in this community in particular, who are homeless and who are lacking basic needs? I can't answer it yet. And so what I find is my work is trying to eliminate it.
It's a good fit for a woman who came from a family tradition of service. As a fourth grader, Rebecca volunteered with a program to feed homeless teens. The experience made a deep impression on her and ultimately helped guide her career choices.
So the impact I believe I'm having on the community is one that speaks to the basic rights we all should have to be able to know where we're going to sleep and have that be a safe place, to know that our kids are going to have enough to eat, that we can get the job training we need to find jobs in the community. I am very lucky to be able to do that. It's an absolute blessing, and it's not easy, but I love it. I love it.
Grant continues at the Evans School, working toward a PhD in 2014. Like Rebecca, he's dedicated to a life of public service.
I'm interested in education policy, and the more I study education policy, the more I appreciate how complex it is and how incredibly challenging it is to figure out what works. And so I'm hoping in the kinds of training that I'm getting in the Evans School, I'm hoping to be able to someday at the state level perhaps look at the data that we've collected and say to legislators, for example, if we cut the state need grant by 10%, it will have this kind of effect. We will have 500 students that could have gone to college no longer able to do so.
We all can have an impact on public value by investing in an organization that's doing good work, an organization that's serving more than 60,000 people a year, and having the impact that we couldn't have, you or me, by ourselves. Thanks. So I like to think that my job in development is to message our mission in a way that inspires folks to believe in their responsibility to create public value.
So that's interesting. I think at the Evans School what we learn is whatever an organization's objective is, or whatever the government's objective is in providing services or programs, there are always better ways we can do that. I'm hoping to get to a point where I can make real contributions to the community and giving decision makers information that, again, can help achieve those goals.
And in the midst of lofty career ambitions, it turns out that a master's degree in public administration also works well in a marriage.
And I still think that Rebecca and I joke sometimes about making a matrix to understand some kind of problem we face, or I often ask if we can make a decision tree to try to figure out what we're doing. And
it's a good marriage tool.
It's, yeah.
Our friends think we are
so dorky.
So dorky. But it works.
But we're very happy.
Yeah.
The Evans School is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. On our website, uwtv.org/uw360, you'll find a link to more information about all its programs and events. Stay with us, UW360 continues. That's it for this edition of UW360. You can catch this episode again on our website, uwtv.org/uw360, where you'll also find links to more information about everything we've covered today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time with all new stories from the University of Washington.